Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Always something, always something exciting going on when it comes to Leonard Ellerbe and Eddie Hearn. At this point, I don't know why they just don't make a celebrity boxing match and let Ellerbe and Hearn get in there and violate each other, because obviously they despise of each other. I think Ellerbe is a bit more direct and colorful with the things he has to say about Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is a bit more witty in his approach, but equally as offensive. Now, the thing about it, right? There's always something going on between these two. I mean, it's ridiculous. But before I get into what's going on now, I want to make sure you guys understand. Leonard Ellerbe used to box. For those who didn't know, Ellerbe was also in the military. Okay, he got some injuries as a young adult that pretty much prevented him from really going professional. But he is still in the gym, and to this day he trains. Now, if you didn't know about Fast Eddie Hearn, Fast Eddie had a few amateur matches. And there's a clip of Eddie Hearn sparring somebody. It's only body shots. But if you watch the clip and you watch Eddie Hearn and his technique, I'm going to tell you, Eddie Hearn has some skills. All right? And I'm not just saying that. I was very surprised because, he's tall. His posture is off. He kind of like Tyson Fury, just look simple and quirky. Now, I'm not saying he fights like Tyson Fury. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is I was surprised to see him being so comfortable, being in the pocket, using his eyes, watching what his opponent was doing, not overly reacting, the ability to see the openings, throw counters. But it was all body shots. But I'm watching that saying, this man's been in the ring before. So that being said, that's why I think they should have a celebrity boxing match, because it's not like you're taking Flavor Flav and throwing him in the ring with someone else who has no business putting on boxing gloves. These two actually have skill. Now, Ellerbe is a bit older than Eddie Hearn, but nonetheless, it would make for a good fight. Now, what's the real issue between these guys? Well, Eddie Hearn goes and he posts something, right, about Gervonta Davis. He says the dangerous thing about Gervonta Davis is he's not a deep thinker, not articulate. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. He's a bad MFer, like Mike Tyson. That makes him dangerous because he's fearless. You can't get into his head. Now, before we get into what Ellerbe says, right, let's try to understand Eddie Hearn's post. He says the dangerous thing about Gervonta Davis is he's not a deep thinker, not articulate. Stop right there. Now, for those of you who watch boxing like me, you watch the interviews with Tank Davis, right? Would you say he's a deep thinker? Now, I'm going to be honest here. I've been listening to his interviews. He is a deep thinker. He understands the position he's in. I think he really realizes the opportunity for him to create generational wealth. Also, by his actions to take his career into his own hand, tells me that he's learned a lot from Floyd. He's learned a lot from Al Heyman. He's learned a lot from the people around him, because he's surrounded not only by guys who make some bad decisions. He's surrounded by some pretty successful people. And in his circle, it's a composite circle. And by composite, I mean it's a mixture. But the thing is, he's learning from those who are very successful. And he's also learning from those who have fallen on their face. Good example is his friend, it was a hip-hop guy, Casanova. He's up shit creek with no paddle. So I think Eddie Hearn's wrong by saying Gervonta Davis is not a deep thinker. Now, by him saying Gervonta Davis is not articulate. Well, I don't think he's very articulate either. But he can get his point across. You can understand him. But no, he's not a guy who sounds like he graduated from Harvard. Matter of fact, I don't know anybody in boxing right now who sounds like a Harvard grad. Matter of fact, the only Harvard grad doesn't talk, and he's not even a boxer. He's an advisor, and that's Al Heyman. So, and also Lou DiBella is a Harvard grad, and I believe Bob Arum. They're all Harvard grads. So not being articulate is not a bad thing. It's something that he can work on, and that's a plus. But do I have a problem with what Eddie Hearn is saying here? Yeah, I have a problem with it because he's acting his shoe size. Because he's just pissed off because Gervonta Davis didn't want to come over and sign with him, and definitely didn't want to allow Eddie Hearn to come and try to promote any of his fights. And this is a case where Eddie Hearn has kind of shot himself in the foot because he said so many things about Tank Davis, right? Saying things like, we make him a lucrative offer. We'll probably give him a few more million than his market value, but we will make it worth his time. Now, by him saying that should tell you a lot about Tank, and as far as his ability to think, process information, and make decisions. He knew Eddie Hearn was just trying to use him as a pawn to get back at Ellerbe and those guys. But what really hurt Eddie Hearn is all the crap with Conor Benn. Okay, so Eddie Hearn can say what he wants. He's just sour because Tank came out and has some unfavorable things to say about Eddie Hearn, the way he conducts business, the offensive offer he made to him, and just all in all, he thinks Eddie Hearn's a piece of shit. Now, Leonard Ellerbe decides to chime in. He said, "Did you mean that in a disrespectful way with your privileged, racist ass? Who the F you think you are saying he's not a deep thinker or not articulate? That's the problem. MFers like you think you're more superior than others. We don't play that ish over here, you effing clown." Now let's break down what he's saying here. What you did mean that in a disrespectful way. Now I agree with that part. I think Eddie Hearn definitely meant that in a disrespectful way because he's butthurt because he didn't get what he wanted. He's spoiled, and also his stable of fighters and the whole match room, at least the boxing portion of their portfolio, is not really working out the way he's accustomed, and I think he's overall frustrated. Plus, you got Joshua over here in the States now, which I'm about to do a video about that, who's going to be working with Derek James, which just is going to create some issues for Eddie Hearn because, he can't see what's going on. And there are guys over here in the States who have some ways, like Eddie Hearn, that they may approach Joshua with a briefcase of money the same way Eddie Hearn was approaching fighters with a briefcase of money. You know what I mean? So that's something else. So when you look at it, that first sentence here, Leonard Ellerbe, I think is correct by saying Eddie Hearn was definitely being disrespectful. Now, calling him a racist, I mean, I don't. Eddie Hearn hasn't done or said anything to make me think that he's a racist, man. So I just don't think we should be so careless with calling people racist. Now, you call the right person a racist, they may tell you, I am a racist. I'm a person who studies race. Scientists study science. You know what I mean? A biologist studies biology. So if you call me a racist, well, that means I study race. So depending on who you talk to and how fast their brain works, they can take the verbal attack that you're spewing their way, and they could turn it back around and make you look dumb. But at the end here with what Ellerbe's trying to say, I don't think I've ever heard any fighter say anything along the lines that Eddie Hearn's a racist. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not defending Eddie Hearn. What I'm saying is he never shuts up. He's always in front of cameras. If he was a racist, I'm sure he may have said something at some point in time okay, and because he doesn't know how to shut up. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if what he says qualifies to categorize him as a racist. Okay, but then he goes on to say, "Who the F you think you are saying he's not a deep thinker?" Well, we already cleared that up. Obviously, Tank is a deep thinker, not articulate. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But Tank has gotten a lot better. Okay, and he's going to keep getting better. Tank is working on himself, and that's what you want to see. I'm not gonna look at anybody or shit, especially myself, man. I've got a master's degree. Only reason I stopped my PhD because my sons were born. I'm currently taking this 5-month project management course from Villanova University, and I don't think I'm the most articulate. All right, so, but once somebody recognizes that they have some work to do, man, you have to applaud them and laud their efforts. All right, I just don't think we should break champions down. I think we should build them up. But when he goes on and says that's the problem, if MF is like you think you're more superior than others, I will say with Eddie Hearn, I do think he has a little bit of the entitlement thing, not because of his race, just because the man's got money. His dad went out there, man, and took a chance, got involved with some businesses and investments. Things worked out, and he created a good life for his family. And you gotta, if anything, look at that and see, what are some things that I could take from that to improve my situation. If you want to, change your dynamic. But I have noticed when Eddie Hearn talks to some people, he does seem to kind of talk down on them. We know Eddie Hearn. He went to a good school here. I think he went to school in the States. He got a really good education. He's a smart man. Eddie Hearn's not dumb. But I think sometimes, when he does talk to people, he will talk down to them. And in particular, the first time when I really recognized it is when he was talking to Jake Paul. And they were having a conversation. And I think it was like a face-off or something, but no, it was during the Serrano and Katie Taylor. And they were promoting, and they had the two of them up there, and they were having a conversation. And the way Eddie Hearn was just basically, man, just eating him alive. But I was like, damn, he's really like exploiting the fact that Jake Paul is not the most articulate, not a college grad. He just, it's just night and day with the two of these guys and their backgrounds. But I did feel a little bit like, damn, Eddie Hearn's kind of chumping him, But I didn't think nothing of it because, hey, that's their business, it's not mine. But I did recognize like Eddie Hearn was getting the best of him. His brain works a little bit faster than Jake Paul's. So when you look at Ellerbe and him going at Eddie Hearn, I don't expect Leonard Ellerbe to say anything nice about him. But I could understand how he could feel the way he feels because just based on his experiences and anyone else, man, who's been through experiences where maybe somebody has said things along these lines, coupled with the other few choice words, and can make them feel like they're, inferior. And that goes for men, the women, adults, children, and people from all races and religions. So that being said, bottom line, Ellerbe and Hearn, they just need to fight. They just need to get in there and fight. And I went on Twitter, I looked, there's a lot of people who are saying that, Eddie Hearn, they feel that the comments kind of cross the line as far as, getting into the race thing. But I just, like, for me, I don't see that. What I see is a sourpuss who is mad because he can't get his hand in that pot of gold that comes with that little leprechaun, Gervonta Davis, because anywhere he goes, it's gonna be a pot of gold somewhere. And that's just what Tank Davis is. And I'm not calling him a leprechaun because he's short. I'm saying that because when the leprechaun's involved, there's money involved. Big pot of gold. And that's what Gervonta Davis is. But that being said, we will see if these two continue to act their shoe size instead of their age. And hopefully, forget what's going on with Spence, Crawford, Thurman, man. The fight to see is Ellerbe versus Hearn. But who knows if they'll do it. That being said, y'all keep cool. Leave your comments below. I'm in the breeze.